As I returned into my home after a long day at work, my eyes immediately caught the cluttered entranceway. Shoes scattered, books and papers strewn across the floor, and my handbag dumped unceremoniously on the rug. I let out a frustrated sigh, feeling overwhelmed by the mess. But then I remembered something. I took a deep breath and began the familiar process of designating a place for each thing. I picked up my shoes and neatly placed today's shoes in their spot and headed to the bedroom to put away my bag and outdoor clothes. As I methodically put each item in its designated spot, I couldn't help but think about the many benefits of following this routine. It may seem like a small thing, but it has a huge impact on my life. Firstly, it saves time. Instead of spending hours cleaning up a cluttered space, I spend just a few minutes putting things away in their proper place. This leaves me with more time to do the things I love, like reading a good book or spending time with friends and family. Secondly, it reduces stress. Clutter can be a major source of stress, and having a designated spot for every item in my home means that I always know where everything is. I never have to waste time searching for lost items or worry about forgetting where I put something. But perhaps most importantly, it gives me a sense of control. In a world that can often feel chaotic and overwhelming, having a clean and organized home is a small but powerful way of taking control of my surroundings. It helps me feel more grounded and centered, even when everything else feels like it's spinning out of control. Of course, it's not always easy to maintain this routine. There are times when I come home feeling exhausted and just want to collapse on the couch. But even on those days, I force myself to follow through with the routine. Because I know that if I let things slide even once, it's all too easy for the clutter to start piling up again. And it's not just about putting things away in their designated spot. It's also about making sure that everything in my home has a designated spot. This means that I have to be ruthless about getting rid of things that I no longer need or that don't bring me joy. It can be hard to let go of possessions, especially if we've had them for a long time or if they have sentimental value. But I've learned that holding on to things that don't serve a purpose or that don't bring me joy only weighs me down. It's much better to let them go and make space for the things that do bring me joy and serve a purpose. But there's one thing I want to caution against. There are all kinds of storage solutions out there, from fancy closet organizers to elaborate shelving systems. And while some of these may be helpful, I've found that they can also be a trap. It's all too easy to become obsessed with finding the perfect storage solution, to spend hours poring over Pinterest and Instagram, trying to find the one magic system that will finally solve all our clutter problems. But the truth is, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The key is to focus on the basics. Make sure that everything in your home has a designated spot and put things away in their spot as soon as you're done with them. It may take some time and effort to establish this routine, but once you do, it becomes second nature. And don't be afraid to experiment a little. Maybe you'll find that your shoes are best kept in a basket by the door instead of in a cupboard, or that your scarves are more easily accessible when hung on a hook rather than folded in a drawer. However, be warned against falling into the trap of constantly experimenting with storage solutions. It's important to find what works for you and stick with it. Otherwise, you may end up buried in possessions that don't bring you joy or clutter that's difficult to manage. So, how exactly do you establish a designated spot for every item in your home? First, take inventory of your possessions and assess which items you use frequently and which you use less often. This will help you determine the most convenient and accessible spots for each item. Next, consider the layout of your home and how you can use the space effectively. You may need to invest in some organizational tools, such as shelves, hooks, or baskets, to make the most of your storage space. Once you have a plan in place, it's time to start putting it into action. Make it a habit to put things away immediately after using them, rather than letting them pile up. This will help prevent clutter from accumulating and keep your space organized. It may take some time and effort to establish this routine, but the benefits are well worth it. Not only will you have a cleaner and more organized home, but you'll also reduce stress and save time by knowing exactly where everything is located. In addition to the practical benefits, there's also a psychological aspect to keeping a tidy home. Studies have shown that a cluttered environment can lead to increased levels of stress and anxiety, while a clean and organized space can promote feelings of calm and productivity. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the clutter in your home, it's time to start designating a spot for every item. With a little effort and persistence, you can create a space that's both functional and aesthetically pleasing. In conclusion, the author's routine of designating a place for each thing in their home is a simple but effective way to reduce clutter and maintain an organized space. By establishing a designated spot for every item and putting things away immediately after using them, you can keep your home tidy and stress-free. Remember, finding what works for you may take some trial and error, but once you establish a routine, it becomes second nature. Don't be afraid to experiment a little and invest in some organizational tools to make the most of your storage space. So, go ahead and give it a try. Your future self will thank you for it. If you enjoy watching this video, consider watching the next one to learn more about minimalism, decluttering, and living a simple life.